Have you ever felt this? You give everything, your heart, your energy, your softness, trying to make someone stay. You tell yourself that if you love harder, care deeper, or change enough, maybe this time they won't leave. But they still do. And you're left with that aching question. Am I still not enough? From childhood, we've been told that love is the missing half of our puzzle, that we must reshape ourselves to fit someone else's edges, that our worth depends on whether someone else chooses us. But Carl Jung teaches the opposite. He says, if you are unaware of your own worth, you'll repeat relationships that make you feel worthless. You'll keep chasing from others what you've never learned to give yourself: love. Only when you learn to love yourself enough, not in empty affirmations but through real boundaries, through refusing to settle for less, through learning to be and still whole, will the right person appear. Not because you need them, but because you no longer need anyone to fill your emptiness. In today's video, we're diving into that truth. Why loving yourself deeply changes the kind of love you attract. Stay until the end, because the love you've been searching for might not come from someone's words, but from an awakening waiting inside you. 1. Love born from need is not love. You think you're looking for love, but most of the time, what you're really looking for is an anesthetic, something to numb a pain you haven't dared to face. You say you want a genuine relationship, someone who truly cares. But look closer. How many times have you found yourself in relationships that made you feel small, anxious, or emotionally dependent? How many times have you whispered to yourself, why do I always meet the same kind of people? Why do I always end up being the one who loves more? And how many times have you promised that next time would be different, only to fall right back into the same cycle? That's not bad luck. That's your unconscious playing out an old story until you're awake enough to rewrite it. Carl Jung said, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Deep in the layers of your mind, where fears, buried traumas, and limiting beliefs live, you're still being pulled by invisible strings. Take this example. A woman who always falls for distant, emotionally unavailable men. Every time the relationship ends, she promises herself, next time I'll choose someone kind. But the next man is the same, only with a different name and face. Why? Because she's never faced herself. Deep down, she carries the belief, I'm not worthy of being fully loved. I have to earn it. And so she's unconsciously drawn to men who make her fight for affection. That struggle feels familiar, like home. And so the cycle continues. You see, this is the cruel illusion of an unawakened mind. You think you're falling in love, but you're actually reenacting an old wound with new actors and calling it love. But it's not love. It's emotional dependency in disguise. Love that stems from lack is not love. It's emotional bargaining. You love to fill a void, to ease loneliness, to silence fear, to feel needed. But when love comes from lack, it can never last because it isn't free. It's fueled by need, and anything born from need will eventually create dependency. Be honest. When you fall in love, do you lose yourself? Do you become overly sensitive, overthinking, panicking when they don't respond the way you hoped? That's not love. That's clinging to the illusion that they can heal you. Jung called this identification with the wound. When you haven't separated your true self from the hurt self, you don't heal. You hand your wound to someone else and hope they'll love it enough to make it disappear. But no one can carry that for you. So the disappointment repeats, heartbreak after heartbreak. Love born from need is like building a house on sand. It looks solid for a while, but the moment a wave comes, it collapses. Why? Because it's not grounded inside you. It depends entirely on the other person's actions. They leave, you crumble. They stay, and you can finally breathe again. That's not love. That's addiction. And until you're brave enough to face it, you'll keep running in circles. waiting for someone to love you the right way instead of learning to do that for yourself. Imagine a man who just got out of a relationship. Instead of sitting with his pain, he dives straight into dating apps, talking to anyone who can give him that temporary feeling of being wanted. He tells himself he's moving on, but in reality he's just running from himself. And everyone he meets is doing the same thing, running. So their relationships begin not from peace but from fear. Two people trying to escape their own emptiness, and when it inevitably falls apart, he says, "Love always hurts." But he's missing the truth. The energy you put out shapes the love you receive. If what you carry inside is anxiety, fear, and a desperate need for validation, you'll keep attracting people who trigger those same emotions. You can't start from the outside, you must go within. Ask yourself, why do I believe I'm not enough? Where did that belief begin? Is it even true? No one can love you enough to make you feel enough. That's your work. When you stop needing love as a crutch and start standing on your own, everything changes. It's harsh, it's uncomfortable, but it's real. True love isn't an addiction, it's freedom. People often confuse emotional hunger for love. When you're starving, any food tastes good, but that doesn't mean it nourishes you. Love born from need is how we abandon ourselves, how we hand our self-worth to someone else. And here's the hardest part. We don't just love the wrong way. We also see the wrong people. Because most of what you think is love is simply your own reflection, projected through another person. 2. The mechanism of projection in relationships. Carl Jung once said, "The best work we can do for the world is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others." In other words, love isn't just an emotion. It's a mirror. It reflects the exact state of your inner world. You don't love someone only for who they are. You love them because they awaken something hidden within you. We like to think our encounters are random. A classmate, a coworker, a stranger on a street, a match on an app. But Jung believed otherwise. He said that nothing in the realm of the soul happens by accident. Every person you meet is summoned by the energy you carry inside. He called it the collective unconscious, a vast inner landscape filled with archetypes and symbols that shape our instincts and desires. Among them, two are central to love, the anima and the animus. The anima is the inner feminine within a man, tender, emotional, intuitive. The animus is the inner masculine within a woman, rational, strong, decisive. Every one of us, regardless of gender, holds an idealized image of the other shaped by these archetypes. When you meet someone who mirrors this inner image, the attraction feels magnetic, almost fated, as if the universe itself conspired to bring you together. That's why some connections feel so ancient, so familiar, because on a subconscious level they are. Jung said, "Some relationships are formed long before life gives them a name. It's not poetry. It's psychology. What you call destiny might just be your unconscious communicating through the language of symbols and synchronicities. These encounters aren't random. They come to mirror the deepest parts of you, not to make you comfortable, but to awaken you. The truth is, you don't have to consciously understand what energy you're putting out. Your unconscious already does the talking. Every unhealed wound, every hidden fear, every belief you carry about love, they're all frequencies you're broadcasting. And life responds accordingly. You meet someone cold and distant and they trigger your fear of being unwanted. But that fear didn't start with them. It's been inside you all along, waiting for this exact person to bring it to the surface. If this resonates with you, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, maybe drop a heart or a symbol in the comments to remind yourself and others that you're not alone in this journey of awareness. Because that's how the shadow begins to heal, not through theory, but through real people, real emotions, real pain. You never meet anyone by accident. You meet the person who reflects your next lesson. The one who hurts you shows your pain. The one who confuses you exposes your illusions. The one who loves you right reminds you of who you've always been. But here's the trap. We don't love them for who they are. We love who we think they are. We love the projection, not the person. And when the illusion fades, we feel betrayed, not because they changed, but because we finally see them clearly. This is the endless loop of projection. And until you face it, you'll keep chasing reflections, not people. 3. The energy of lack. You may never say it out loud, but energy doesn't lie. People can sense when you're carrying an invisible hunger, that desperate need to be loved, to be seen, to be chosen. You can hide it behind confidence, laughter, or silence, but it leaks out through every glance, every text you overthink, every moment you wait too long for a reply. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this invisible craving, this energy of lack, is one of the strongest forces running your relationships without you even realizing it. Be honest with yourself for a moment. How many times have you spiraled just because someone didn't reply for a few hours? How many times have you checked their story, their last online time, their posts, trying to decode their slunts? How many times have you pretended to be fine while inside you were screaming for reassurance? That isn't love. That's anxiety disguised as devotion. And this anxious energy doesn't just exhaust you, it silently pushes others away. Because nobody can breathe under the weight of invisible expectations. Psychology calls this attachment anxiety, the fear of abandonment that makes you cling tighter when you sense distance. But in Jung's language, it's something even deeper, an unintegrated shadow, the part of you that doesn't believe you're worthy of love unless someone else says so. When you depend on another person to prove your worth, you hand them the keys to your peace. You turn love into a transaction. And whether you realize it or not, that pressure makes others pull away. They don't retreat because you're not enough. They retreat because they can feel the heaviness of being responsible for your happiness. And once again, you're left feeling abandoned. Not realizing that it wasn't their leaving that hurt most. It was the old wound reopening, whispering the same words you've carried since childhood. I'm not enough. Jung said, where there is desire, there is bondage. Desire in this sense doesn't mean passion. It means need. The emotional dependence that says, if you're not here, I don't know who I am. That's not connection. That's captivity. The difference between desire and need is subtle but life-changing. Desire comes from wholeness. It says, I want you in my life, but I'm still me without you. Need comes from lack. It says, without you, I don't exist. That's the defining line between healthy love and obsessive attachment. The challenge is that you can't see this energy directly. It lives deep beneath the surface, in your unconscious. You think you're in love, but really you're afraid. You act from fear, texting too much, over-explaining, trying to fix what's not yours to fix. And every one of those actions subtly pushes love further away. Carl Jung compared the human psyche to an iceberg. The conscious mind is just the tip, what you know, what you can name. Beneath it lies a massive, unseen structure of memories, fears, patterns, and projections. That's where the energy of lack hides. Think about how fear quietly runs your life. It shows up as doubt when you ask yourself, am I good enough for them? It shows up as procrastination when you avoid the hard conversations out of fear of rejection. It shows up as overgiving, constantly doing more, giving more, sacrificing more. Not out of love, but out of fear that if you stop, they'll leave. Look around. People who naturally attract love and respect don't do it because they're lucky or flawless. They do it because they're not trying. They're at peace with who they are. They radiate calm confidence. Their energy says, I am whole. That energy, not looks, not words, is magnetic. Love doesn't run from imperfection, it runs from need. Because when you love from need, it feels like pressure, an invisible demand to make someone else's soul whole. Even if someone loves you deeply, that weight becomes too heavy. So the next time you feel someone growing distant, pause before blaming them. Ask yourself, am I loving from peace or panic? Am I showing up as a whole person or as someone hoping to be rescued? Am I opening my heart or gripping it too tight? People sense your energy, not with logic, but with instinct. And instinct avoids suffocation. To keep love, you don't have to chase harder. You have to need less. When you no longer love to fill a void, but to share your fullness, you shift from being a chaser to being an attractor. But this transformation doesn't come from surface changes, like pretending not to care or playing mind games. It comes from the deepest inner work Jung described as individuation. 4. Individuation, the key to true love. Carl Jung called individuation the process of becoming wholly yourself, unifying all the fractured parts of your being into one conscious, integrated self. It's not a spiritual slogan, it's the most courageous psychological journey a human can take. Individuation isn't about becoming independent in the modern, I don't need anyone sense. It's about learning who you really are. What wounds drive you, what fears control you, what roles you play to earn love, and bringing those shadows into awareness so they no longer run your life. Let's take an example. A woman grows up emotionally neglected. Her parents weren't cruel, just distant, distracted, always busy. She learns early on that love must be earned through silence, compliance, perfection. She becomes the good girl, agreeable, helpful, never asking for too much. Years later, she finds herself in relationships where she gives endlessly, sacrifices constantly, and still feels unseen. She tells herself, maybe if I'm even more patient, more understanding, he'll stay. But they always leave, not because she's unlovable, but because her love is built on fear, not freedom. She's loving from a false self, the version of her that learned to survive, not the version of her that was born to live. This is the heart of Jung's message. No one can truly see another until they have seen themselves. You can't love deeply until you've met your own depths. Individuation means embracing every part of you, the strong and the weak, the beautiful and the messy, the confident and the afraid. It means understanding that your shadow isn't your enemy. It's the part of you begging for love. When you begin this journey, love stops being a transaction and becomes an expression. You stop needing people to complete you because you already feel whole within yourself. Many people think they've grown up, but emotionally they're still children in adult bodies, entering relationships hoping for a parent, not a partner. They want someone to comfort them, validate them, heal the wounds they've never dared to touch. But no one can do that for you. That's your soul's work. Individuation asks you to take full responsibility for your patterns, to stop blaming others for not loving you right, to stop expecting relationships to save you from your loneliness, to finally face yourself, raw, unfiltered, unguarded. It's painful. You'll cry. You'll feel empty. You'll want to go back to the comfort of chasing someone else's love. But on the other side of that discomfort is freedom, the kind of love that no longer comes from desperation, but from choice. Once you've integrated your shadow, once you've accepted the parts of yourself you used to hide, something shifts. You no longer fall for people who mirror your wounds. You attract those who mirror your wholeness. True love isn't two halves making a whole. It's two wholes walking side by side, not to fill each other, but to grow together. That kind of love doesn't control, doesn't demand, doesn't cling. It allows. It flows. It breathes. And even if one day it ends, you don't collapse. Because you've already found the love that never leaves, the one within yourself. If this message touches you, leave a comment. even just a small symbol, to say, I'm on this journey too. You never know who you might encourage just by sharing that truth. Because in a world where most people love from fear, loving from wholeness is a radical act. When you choose individuation, you're not just changing how you love, you're changing your entire energetic frequency. The kind of people you attract, the kind of experiences you draw in, the way you walk through life, everything transforms. Individuation doesn't end. It's not a finish line. It's a lifelong process, a continual return to yourself through solitude, reflection, and courage. Each time you descend into your own depths, you rise stronger, calmer, more complete. And from that place, love no longer consumes you. It elevates you. 5. The journey of transformation. From chaser to attractor. No one can love you into wholeness if you don't believe you're worthy. No relationship, no matter how beautiful, can fill the space you haven't dared to face. That's why this transformation doesn't begin with finding the right person. It begins with returning to yourself. Carl Jung never promised comfort. He didn't coat psychology in sugar. He pointed you to the center of your pain and said, stay there long enough to see the truth. Because only in the dark do you discover the light that's yours. If you want to move from chaser to attractor, from lack to fullness, start with awareness and practice, not performance. Here's a simple but potent framework. Exercise 1. Radical reflection. Take one current or past relationship and tell the truth on paper. Ask, where am I the one always initiating service? Texting first, fixing first, folding first. Where am I silent out of fear they'll leave if I speak? Where am I accepting crumbs and calling it love? Circle the places where you've been abandoning yourself. Those are your inflection points. Starting today, commit to pausing any behavior rooted in the need to be reassured. That means don't check in to calm your anxiety. Don't text to fish for a sign you still matter. If someone truly connects with you, they'll show up without being prompted. Your worth is not measured by a notification. Exercise 2. Intentional solitude. Solitude isn't the same as passive loneliness. Passive loneliness is scrolling, refreshing, eating your feelings, filling silence with noise. Intentional solitude is choosing stillness so you can hear what you've been avoiding. Try this ritual. Journal daily. Messy, honest, unfiltered. Let ink drag the unconscious into daylight. Name the feeling, not the story. Fear, longing, anger, grief, tenderness, hope. Sit with emptiness for 10 minutes. No music, no phone. Feel the ache in your chest. Ask it softly. When did you begin? What do you need from me? Wait, emotions reveal their origin when you stop running from them. Exercise 3. Nourish the inner temple. Your body is not the enemy, it's the instrument carrying every emotion you've stored. Prioritize the basics. Sleep, movement, real food, water. These are not wellness trends. They're the physiological foundation that calms the nervous system so you don't cling from panic. Then add creative expression. Write, draw, sing, plant, build, design. Creativity is how the soul remembers its power. It reminds you, I can make something from within. I am not empty. Exercise 4. Boundaries as self-respect. Boundaries are not walls, they're doors with handles on your side. Start small. I'm not available to talk after midnight. I won't continue this conversation if you raise your voice. I need reciprocity. Effort will be matched, not chased. Each boundary you keep is evidence to your nervous system. I protect me. That evidence grows into trust. That trust becomes self-love embodied. Exercise 5. Repatterning the wound. When the old panic rises, the urge to text, explain, fix, pause and reparent yourself. Place a hand on your heart and say, I know you're scared, I'm here. We choose dignity over chasing. We choose truth over performance. Then move your body. A walk, a stretch, a shower, to discharge the energy. Choose one action aligned with the person you're becoming, not the pattern you're escaping. This is how you shift from chaser to attractor, not by withholding love or playing games, but by creating an inner life so grounded that you no longer need external proof to breathe. You don't shrink to be chosen, you expand to be met. And as Jung would remind you, the psyche reorganizes around what you consistently practice. Every time you keep a boundary, sit in stillness, or tell the truth on paper, you send a message to your unconscious. We are safe without begging. We are whole without performing. That message changes your frequency, and your frequency changes your relationships. 6. The kind of love that comes when you love yourself. When you stop living from lack, you emit a different signal. It doesn't beg, it invites. It doesn't cling, it welcomes. It doesn't bargain, it rests. Jung described wholeness not as perfection, but as the integration of contraries. The wedding of your light and shadow, strength and softness, clarity and tenderness. From that integration, a new love becomes possible. Not a rescue mission, but a resonance. What does that love look and feel like? It feels unhurried. You're not racing to define, label, or secure. You let the connection breathe because you can breathe without it. You enjoy presence over performance. There's no compulsion to control because your safety doesn't depend on outcomes. It feels reciprocal. You no longer overfunction to make the relationship work. You give from fullness, not fear. Effort matches effort. Words align with actions. You don't carry the emotional labor alone. You carry it together. It feels honest. You can say, "I'm scared," without folding. You can say, "I need," without begging. You can say, "This doesn't work for me," without punishing or pleasing. Honesty becomes intimacy, not a threat. It feels spacious. You are two sovereign souls who choose each other, not to merge into one and disappear, but to walk side by side. There's room for solitude and togetherness, ambition and rest, dreams and boundaries. Space doesn't equal distance, it equals dignity. It feels steady, no fireworks required to keep it alive. The calm is the chemistry, the quiet is the connection, the peace is the pulse. You don't question your worth between texts because your worth is not a question anymore. It feels free. You don't need to be perfect or strategic. You get to be human, messy, luminous, learning, and you offer the same freedom in return. It's not "I'll love you if..." It's "I love you and I'm responsible for me." From this place, even endings don't erase you. You can grieve without collapsing, love without losing yourself, and begin again without repeating, because your identity is anchored inside your own life. Because you've done the work Jung urged, to make the unconscious conscious, to integrate the shadow, to become who you are. And then, almost quietly, life rearranges. People who drain you stop finding you. People who meet you start staying. Opportunities align with your values. Your creativity deepens. Your courage grows. You move from chasing belonging to being belonging, wherever you stand. This is the magnetism everyone talks about, but few can explain. It isn't a trick. It's coherence. When your inner world is coherent, thoughts, emotions, choices, boundaries in harmony, the outer world mirrors that harmony back. Wholeness attracts wholeness. Peace magnetizes peace. Love recognizes love. Conclusion. The relationship you long for does not live in someone else's pocket. It lives in the energy you cultivate every day, in the boundaries you keep, the honesty you practice, the solitude you honor, and the tenderness you give yourself when old fears rise. Carl Jung reminded us that destiny is often the name we give to our unconscious patterns. But the miracle is this: patterns can be rewritten. The moment you pause, turn inward, and put yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect, you begin to create a new fate. True love doesn't come from performing the right script or chasing the right person. It comes when you stop abandoning yourself, when you stop begging and begin belonging to yourself, when you stop trying to be chosen and start choosing you. No controlling, no clinging, no bargaining. Just a steady, grounded presence, the kind that draws in what is meant for you and lets go of what isn't. If something in this message stirred you, if you're ready to stop loving from lack and start loving from wholeness, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Not because you need another voice to save you, but because you're building a life where your voice finally leads. New videos are coming, and they may arrive on the exact day you choose yourself again. And if you're walking this road, say it below. I'm on this journey too. Your courage might be the light someone else needs tonight.